El Niño is finally here. And although it is now only moderately disrupting global weather patterns, government analysts anticipate it to progressively gain power. The Spanish term El Niño, which means the little boy, may sound dreadful, yet it is not always cruel or even hostile. Here are the experts' predictions and what they mean for the United States. What is El Niño? Warm water begins to accumulate in the tropical Pacific Ocean west of South America, which marks the beginning of the El Niño climate pattern. About every 3 to 7 years, this occurs. It could last a few weeks or several years. Typically, the trade winds there blow warm water away from the coast, allowing colder water to rise to the surface. However, when the trade winds diminish, water near the equator can heat up, and this can have a variety of impacts through what are known as teleconnections. Given the immensity of the ocean, which makes up about 1/3 of the Earth's surface and is 15 times larger than the United States, those slashes of warm water have an impact on the entire world. When El Niño occurs, the equator warms, which causes the stratosphere to warm as well, beginning around 6.2 miles 10 kilometers above the surface. How precisely this teleconnection happens is currently being researched by scientists. Likewise, the lower tropical stratosphere cools. The jet stream, which is an upper-level wind system that blows from west to east, can change depending on the circumstances. Changes to the jet stream can have an impact on a variety of weather factors, including temperatures, storms, and winds strong enough to disintegrate hurricanes. In essence, what occurs in the Pacific does not remain there. What does that all mean for me and you? El Niño, with all due respect to Charles Dickens, frequently produces a tale of two halves, with some people experiencing their greatest and worst moments. Globally, El Niño years are often warmer than La Niña years, which is the reverse of El Niño. A powerful El Niño can increase temperatures globally by around 0.7 degrees Fahrenheit, 0.4 degrees Celsius. There is a lot of regional variety in North America, though. In addition to the Pacific Northwest and Ohio Valley frequently experiencing drier than normal winters and autumns, El Niño years are typically warmer overall in the northern United States and Canada. In contrast, the Southwest is typically cooler and wetter than the national average. Since El Niño tends to move the jet stream farther south, it often blows from west to east over the southern United States. Because of this shift, moisture from the Gulf of Mexico tends to be blocked, which lessens the southeast's ability to support thunderstorms. The opposite, known as La Niña, is characterized by a more erratic and northward shifted jet stream, which can intensify severe weather activity in the south and southeast. In both the Atlantic and Pacific, El Niño has an impact on storms, albeit in distinct ways. Hurricanes can be destroyed by wind shear, which is the variation in wind speed with height in the atmosphere, which is more common during El Niño over the Atlantic. However, in the eastern Pacific, El Niño can result in more storms, which is the opposite of what it does elsewhere. The ocean's heat may also increase the chance of marine heat waves, which can destroy coral reefs and the ecosystems that fish rely on. El Niño is typically connected with warmer and drier conditions in the midsection of the US, which can somewhat boost the likelihood of a plentiful maize crop. On the other hand, El Niño can ruin Australian and southern African crops and raise the risk of fire in Australia due to severely dry circumstances. While regions of Argentina and Chile tend to be wetter, Brazil and northern South America tend to be drier as well. However, just because something occurs frequently doesn't guarantee that it will do so in every instance. At the end of the most recent La Niña, which is often associated with dry conditions, California experienced record rainfall from many atmospheric rivers. The impact of El Niño is a matter of probability rather than absolute certainty because every meteorological event differs considerably. It is unclear how El Niño and La Niña may be affected by climate change in the future. There are conflicting predictions. How likely is it that 2023 will set a new record? That is an incredibly expensive question. When water temperatures in the area known as the Niño 3.4 are at least 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit, 0.5 degrees Celsius above average for 3 months, the National Weather Service declares the start of an El Niño. Obviously, that is a big fictitious rectangle extending south of Hawaii near the equator. The Niño 3.4 region has to warm by 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, 1.5 degrees Celsius over the course of 3 months in order to have a strong El Niño. Whether this El Niño will reach that standard this year is uncertain at this time. According to the first El Niño advisory of the year issued by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration on June 8, there is an 84% possibility that El Niño will be more than moderate by winter and a 56% chance that it would be strong. However, those predictions are subject to change, and the scale of those predictions varies depending on the forecasting technique. El Niño has been predicted using dynamical models, which are similar to the models used for standard weather forecasts, although static or statistical models are much less confident. Since I specialize in statistical modeling, my model does not predict a significant El Niño in 2023. My model, like other static models, forecasts that 2023 will peter out and that a powerful El Niño will occur in 2026 following a few calm or neutral years. Although I correctly predicted the recent unprecedented triple dip La Niña, I'm open to being disproved by observations, as any good scientist should be. The global super high ocean temperatures that are present at the moment, however, have never been encountered by any computer model. The Atlantic is exceptionally warm, which may counteract some of the regular effects of El Niño. Cataclysmic effects, along with drying out crops, melting glaciers, and increasing the likelihood of wildfires. Higher than normal temperatures can have a negative impact on human health, including heat stroke, dehydration, and cardiovascular stress. As Beijing burned in temperatures of around 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, China issued its highest level heat alert for northern regions of the nation. A portion of southeast England was subject to water use restrictions by Britain, and Scotland declared some areas to be on water scarcity alert. The number of days Seminole County, Florida, has activated its extreme weather plan, which is what happens when the heat index reaches 108 degrees Fahrenheit, 42 degrees Celsius or above, has already surpassed last year, according to Alan Harris, the county's director of emergency management. Local authorities in the US said last week that at least 13 people died as a result of an intense heat wave in Texas and Louisiana. According to the Weather Prediction Center of the National Weather Service, heat advisories have been issued for parts of western Oregon, far northern California, Texas, Florida, and the coastal Carolinas. In southern Arizona and California, there are still excessive heat advisories in effect. Governments are being asked by Petteri Talas, Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization of the United Nations, to mobilize preparations to limit the impacts on our health, our ecosystems, and our economies. How long is it expected to last? More commonly than the opposite climate event, La Niña, El Niño typically happens every 2 to 7 years. However, neither phenomenon has a regular cycle. El Niño usually lasts 9 to 12 months, but it can occasionally last for years. El Niño is expected to persist this year through the summer, fall, and winter, according to experts. Computer simulations, according to De Silva, are suggesting that it might even go into later next year. El Niño's most recent phase lasted from the end of 2018 to the middle of 2019. We cannot stop natural disasters, but we can arm ourselves with knowledge, So many lives wouldn't have to be lost if there was enough disaster preparedness. Please subscribe to Weather Collapse if you want to know more and be updated on the latest news about natural calamities or disasters happening all over the world. And don't forget to like today's video. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.